The strategies of war. The next step is to induce a population into accepting their rule by inflicting them with the mass psychosis of totalitarianism. Now, this psychosis is induced many times in history, and as Mirilu explains, it's simply a question of reorganizing and manipulating collective feelings into the proper way. The general method by which the members of a ruling elite can accomplish this end is called menticide. Now, the etymology of this word is a killing of the mind. This means that it is an old crime against the human mind and spirit, but systemized into a new organized system of psychological intervention and judicial perversion, through which a ruling class can imprint their own opportunistic thoughts upon the minds of those that they plan to use and destroy. This primes the population for the crime of menticide, and it begins with the sowing of fear when an individual is flooded with negative emotion, such as fear, anxiety. Here you are very susceptible from the delusions of madness. Threats are real or imagined or fabricated, can be used to sow more fear, but a particularly effective technique here is to use waves of terror. Under this technique, the sowing of fear is staggered with periods of calm. But each of these periods of calm is followed by the manufacturing of an even more intense spell of fear, and on and on and on the process goes. Or each wave of terrorizing will create its own effects more easily after a breathing spell than the one that preceded it. Because people are still disturbed by their previous experience, morality becomes lower and lower, and the psychological effects of each new propaganda campaign become stronger. It reaches a public already softened up, while fear primes a population for menticide. So the use of propaganda to spread misinformation and to promote confusion with respect to the source of the threats in the nature of the crime helps to break down the minds of the masses. Government officials and their lackeys in the media can use contradictory reports, nonsensical information, and even blatant lies, as the more they confuse the less capable within a population, they won't be able to cope with the crisis. It'll diminish, and in a rational way, the confusion will heighten the susceptibility into the delusions of totalitarianism. Or, as Mooley explains, logic can be met with logic, while illogic cannot be met with illogic. It confuses those who think straight. The big lie and monotonously repeated nonsense have more emotional appeal than logic and common sense, while people are still searching for a counter-argument to the first lie. The totalitarians can assault them with another and another. Never before in history have such effective means existed to manipulate society into the psychosis of totalitarianism. Smartphones and social media, television and the internet all are in conjunction with algorithms that will quickly censor the flow of unwanted information, allowing those in power to assault the masses even more. And what is more, the addictive nature of these technologies means that many people voluntarily subject themselves to the ruling elite's propaganda with remarkable frequency. Modern technology explains why Merleau teaches man that the world he is looking at, he takes no time to retreat and reflect on, no time to think away from it, to meditate, and it drops you into the wheels of this great big machine where there's no reflection, no conversation, the senses are continually overloaded with stimuli, and man doesn't learn to question his world anymore. The screen offers all the answers ready-made, but there's a further step the would-be totalitarian rulers can do to increase the chance of a psychosis, and this is to isolate the victims and to disrupt normal social interactions. When you're alone and lacking normal interactions with your family, your co-workers, an individual becomes far more susceptible to delusions for several reasons. Firstly, they lose contact with the corrective forces of the positive examples, for not everyone is tricked by the machinations of the ruling elite, and the individuals who see through the propaganda can help free others from the menticidal assault. If, however, isolation is enforced, the power of these positive examples greatly diminishes. But another reason that isolation increases the efficacy of menticide is because, like many other species, human beings are more easily conditioned into new patterns of thought and behavior when isolated.